The Boarding School and Cushman Project, the Puyallup Tribal Language Program. This video was put together by the Puyallup Tribal Language Program to bring awareness to events that transpired on the Puyallup Tribal Reservation. This video is intended to educate our community about the real history that occurred on this land to our people. You will find our history of factual events is much different than the history shared with the general public. We are sharing our story to add to your understanding of our people, coming from our own voices.
O hoialta chas a tis schalatsut go gwalachtwa tis wilsu yaf tis siaya yaf tis shadchas o hoyudas tis Cushman chalalt is o shabab ild a tis gwas pasted.
European Contact in Washington State. Written by Zalmai Uswali Zahir. Lushootseed translation by Zalmai Uswali Zahir. O lala olubaf chas atis tu lali akbuf tu o slachil twa tis swa tuftwad atis atsat sis talbuf. Tu slachil tis ka akbuf. Asista atis holtub yaftis pasted yaftis eoch. Altis parats yaftits oaks daladub yaftits oksachi yaftibos o olos tis Spaniard Juan Perez tu guachub. Go o olos shid tis Spain du eoch. Alti heg choch golot aishidaf tis Spain a taswa tuftwad o daad tis pasted Pacific Northwest. Dish T Oregon yaf T Washitub yaf T British Columbia. Huaf lutsuck. Guati tu sasel tis tu atsat tis tabuf. Alti swa tuftwad, alti zuf to altudi tu hak, zuf bid a tis so slachel a tis hequeg suit foltub. Huit guaso aishids holgwa, okada. Altis parats yaptits oaks zaladub yaptits oksachi il. Tu huit alich tis atsat tis tabuf, a tis skotab golo chadzadaf. To al tis holtab tis skotab. Tu chadzadaf tis ka at tis tabuf, zufbid a tis so slachil a tis holtab twalta cholch. Zufbid a tis so slachil a tis holtab. Go huit quid tus quota beach, tis at sis tabuf. Tu elabutaf hulgwa, ska kagwas hulgwa, a tis swad huftwad. Go tu haidafaf as chade, tis as slasels as halit il. Huit guaso dokwil dufs hulgwa. Tu haidafaf hulgwa, tis chas chachab a tis swad huftwad. Gola oshab tadabut hulgwa. Go tu kluchala lek. Huit chas la siab a tis swad huftwad. Skoy chas tis swad huftwad. Go klushaka lek. Chasla klu hegwa lek. Hai klu te chech de bus tis swad huftwad. Dafas halit chas. Dafas slasli. Altis parats yaftits oaks staladub yafti kholachi. Tu khalshitab atil Spain, atil nutka concession, chas khachab dafo ak til lali akbuf, twal Pacific Northwest, swa twiftwad, o gwachab, o I gwasad. O hoishitab atil chas khachab dafo ak til lali akbuf, o quadshid. Altil parats yafti tsoks staladub yafti kholachi yafti sali. Tu tlacho kwash til zif holtab twalta khoch o olos holgwa. George Vancouver titu sta atil siab atil qelbid. British ti'is. Peter Puget yafti Joseph Whidbey tils ilachads. Tu hoyud kwash halgwa ti zuf sta edup atil kholch. O labduf kwash halgwa til tu khalosab atil atsatsil tabuf atil qotab tu khwadzadaf til atsil tabuf. Tu da'atab atil lali akbuf ti washitab yafti Oregon yafti Idaho yafti mimuad ata Montana Oregon country. Tu khekh til United States yafti Great Britain guaquislu quadshid. Alta parats yafti takachi zaladub yafti parats yafti takachi. O khaltab a Great Britain yafti United States til chachachab a til joint occupation of Oregon. Duf o washaduf ti swa tuftwad altil spo sachi yafti khol parallel. Altil parats yafti takachi spukwachi zaladub yafti parats yafti khol. O kloshitab a Spain til United States a til swa twiftwad Pacific Northwest. Tu o taishidas til tas sel to al tudi tu hak. All til parats yafti takachi zaladub yafti saliachi yafti bos. O slachel ti zuf twal til daf alchad kholch daf o fuit a til squasab a til titi chalbuf. O yayabitab til atsat sil talbuf daf o kea tiso quad holgwa til squasab. Tu lahaiduf holgwa gwa quafatab holgwa a til siaya. Gwa hoi o quadshid holgwa til atsil talbuf a til hal glob khach. Khwadzadaf holgwa til titi chalbuf a til swa twiftwad bak duf cha til tus laochs holgwa. Asista a til tsabalkade stachab slachab squiquad baloops. Khwadzad gwala khwadzad gwala khwadzad. Altil parats yafti takachi zaladub yafti sali achi yafti tsoks. O chasalt ti foltab a Fort Langley altil Fraser stolak cheat atil salmon stolak. As qech guatiduf atil tus I guasatab atil atsil talbuf txʷəls foltub. Assista as athid. Saplal, blas, la pasqui, lab, assista ati. Yafsklalabats, sail, peeped, yalabsid, quote, kapo, squabshad, assista ati. Altis parats yafti takachi, zaladub, yafti slufachi, yafti sluf. Chasalt tis Hudson Bay Company, ata Fort duf squali, alti duf squali. Disti zuf foltabalt, o hoyud altis fwa twiftwed, atil cholch. Klauba a tiduf a atil ba ai guasatab, atil atsil talbuf. Altis parats yafti takachi, zaladub yafti spo sachi il. Tlala ak tis to al leo duf takt, twal tiso taishid, tis atsil talbuf, atil swa twiftwed, duf as slaslis. Ak hulgwa lis all Boston, dufo da'atub Boston. Alta Lushootseed tu I guasid ti B twal P. Gwal tu I guasid ti N twal D. Altis lachel gwal o Lushootseedub chus postid twal tis buk gwat to all Europe. Altis parats yafti takachi zaladub yafti spo sachi yafti salats. O chasalt tis Michael T. Simmons yaftis George Washington Bush cheat atis taud o da'ad tumwater altis lachel. Zuf halgwa to altis leo duf takt. Postid tis Michael T. Simmons. Toch squelch tis George Washington Bush. Didich o datub tis spakwab. Tu dufus slasils hulgwa. Bush spakwab altis lachel. Altis parats yafti takachi zaladub. Yafti spo sachi. Yafti takachi. O ched o hoyo tis Oregon Territory, atis United States. Dis ti Oregon yafti washatub. Al tis parats yafti takachi zaladub yafti spo sachi yafti chol. O chasalt tis United States Army, atis qalachad al talquab. Altis parats yafti takachi zaladub yafti salatsachi yafti shliuf. O hoyud tis washatub territory. Altis parats yafti takachi zaladub yafti salatsachi yafti bos. O chedtub tis shwananam treaty. O kleldub atis atsis talbuf, tis sali million acres, yafti chachgwas. O ala dakatub suf atis paspastid, gwa abshidas, tis atsis talbuf, atis reservation. Gwa su fuit al tis swa tuftwed, buk duf chad, tu ala los defo fuit. To parats yafti takachi zaladub yafti salatsachi yafti salats. Twal parats yafti takachi zaladub yafti salatsachi yafti zalachi. Tu hoyabok tis at silabuh yafti pasted. Altis parats yafti takachi staladub yafti takachi achi yafti chol. Tu hoyel tis washitab territory atis sposachi yafti sali state atis United States. Txʷəls.
Gwalapu de Asia de Siaya Chalup. Amber Sterud Hayward Seed Stat. Spoyala Pabs Chud. Uyayush Chud, Twaltis Spoyala Pabs, Altis Lala Olubadi, Yapti Toshot Sidadi. Good day to you all, my friends and relatives. My name is Amber Sterud Hayward, and I am a Puyallup Tribal member. I work for the Puyallup Tribe, formerly in the Historic Preservation Department, and currently in the Language Program. You just watched the Boarding School and Cushman Project, European Contact in Washington State. This video describes the events that transpired in Lushootseed country in Washington State as European explorers came in contact with our ancestors and a timeline of events that followed. This video is written from the perspective of our people, from our viewpoint. This is not the viewpoint that is commonly shared and taught regarding Washington State history. While Native voices have vocalized our discontent over this one-sided view, the posted or Caucasian version of Washington State history is still used. For example, Washington State natives have endorsed the since time immemorial tribal sovereignty in Washington State curriculum to begin changing this perspective of Washington State history. In 2015, the legislature passed Senate Bill 5433, requiring this curriculum be taught in all schools. Yet not all school teachers are using the curriculum to assist in changing this narrative. My family and I live on the Puyallup Reservation, and my children attend the local public schools. While finishing up this past school year during quarantine, I was helping my son with his middle school history assignments. We watched videos and read about settlers entering into Lushootseed territory. To my complete shock and dismay, the same posted perspective was still being taught from when I was in school 30 years ago. This perspective includes painting the posted settlers as pioneers seeking a new life, acquiring land, and building a name for themselves. These materials continue to paint our ancestors as savages, aggressors, murderers, or uneducated heathens who were easily manipulated. But the manipulation, robbing, and slaughtering of our people is usually brushed over or not talked about at all. This is a narrative that we are tired of hearing. This is the narrative that has been in history books for centuries. This is the narrative that generation after generation have been fed, which has led to the dehumanization of Native people across the United States. This is a narrative that has captured the American dream at the expense of Native lives and exploitation of natural resources. To change this presentation of Washington State history, the other side of the story must be shared. This cannot come from old documents recorded by posted settlers. It will not come from posted Washington State historians. It will not come from academic papers. The other side of this narrative has to come from the first people of this land and the original natives that lived here in Lushootseed country. We can share our side, but our version also must be received. To be received, those listening must be open to the idea that what has been presented to us our whole lives might be incorrectly portrayed with pieces of the story missing. To help with this shift, let's focus back to the video you just watched. Think about the version that was presented in the voices of the first people. I'd like to ask a few questions for you to personally reflect on. Is it important to know both sides and perspectives of an event? Why or why not? Should the truth be shared about historical events, even if it causes discomfort and pain to hear? How did you feel hearing and reading Washington State history from the perspectives of the first people of this land? What were some of the things that you notice from this perspective versus the perspective that is typically shared in Washington state history. If your community was dominated, taken over, displaced, and the natural resources around you were exploited, how would you feel if your side of this historic event was inaccurately represented for hundreds of years? Please know that the full immersion Lushootseed video and the accompanying video has not been arbitrarily put together. Each word, perspective, story, and each question has been chosen very intentionally. This very Puyallup-centric presentation of history was very deliberately compiled to make you see us as human beings who have a story to share. By centering our story right here on our homelands, you have to connect to us through geography and specific stories shared. We are trying to make it hard for you to disconnect from us. We've all heard the blanket statements regarding the Native American experience in the United States. These blanket statements still allow for you to detach from our stories. We want you to know that these things occurred right here to our people on the Puyallup Reservation in Pierce County, Washington, and the effects of this history still has an impact on our community today. We thank you for your time, and we mostly thank you for considering personally reflecting on this video, the questions, and broadening your awareness for others in your life. Because we all want to be seen as human beings, to be acknowledged, and to be accepted. If you'd like to dig deeper or would like more time to process these concepts and values, please see the accompanying document that goes with this section covering European contact in Washington state. Hoya, we are finished.